They're too bright.
A full story night for the Utah Jazz. They have a dominant second quarter again. The Jaren Jackson, Lauri Markkanen era, it looks fabulous. They turn it over to the youngsters in the fourth. And instead of turnovers and mistakes late, they pull out the win in Miami. It wraps up a road trip, and it's what's going to be talked about on POSTCAST. David Locke along with Ron Boone. And Ron, I don't really know where to start on this one. Do you start at the end?
Let's start with the turnovers because they only had 12.
They only had 12 turnovers. They had 7 of them in the fourth quarter the other night. So let's start with the youngsters end. The Jazz closed with Collier, Sensabaugh, Ace Bailey,
Filipowski,
Kyle Filipowski, and Cody Williams for the most part. John Conchar, Vince Williams. So the veterans did not play the fourth quarter, and Ace Bailey has 8 points. Bryce Sensabaugh has a huge 3, and then Barry's 2 free throws. These are big learning moments. This Miami team's 8th in the Eastern Conference. They needed this win tonight. They were playing without Norman Powell, but they still had Bam Adebayo, Andrew Wiggins, Jaime Jaquez on the floor. These are big moments for the Jazz youngsters.
Well, Will gave them a chance to redeem themselves, obviously, and they came up. I mean, they stayed in the basketball game, did not get just like blown off the floor. So even if they would have lost the basketball game, I think they would have learned something, and Will probably would have been, happy with the way they play the fourth quarter, especially not turning the basketball over.
And they seem to recognize stuff. We had Collier with a big basket. He went and got Yakachonis, got him in space, and attacked him. At a time previously had gotten in trouble. We had Ace Bailey finding matchups, Ace scoring. Ace really has shot it terribly on this road trip, and here he was in the fourth quarter. They kind of ran the offense through him to force him to make plays.
Well, ended up going 7 for 14 from the field for the basketball game, but he was – out of those guys, those young guys, he ended up playing 36 minutes out there on the floor. And he's coming. And you saw that, as you just mentioned, that fourth quarter, when he was the go-to guy, he responded and, made some things happen out there on the floor.
And the other one in there, Bryce Sensabaugh had the big 3, and Isaiah Collier continues to develop really, really nicely. I mean, I think the key plays this one that plays off 2 feet. He missed a shot, which he thought he was going to get late. But you're seeing Isaiah, he turned it over the one time, but otherwise we're seeing him play off 2 feet and make the correct plays in the paint that are really what I think are going to be the key for him to be an NBA player.
And the big thing here is, I think, is that he's playing to his strength. I mean, the drive to the basket, the bump, that mid-range, the points in the paint there that he's scoring. David, he's taken 210-point shots in the paint this year, and he doesn't even come close to anything like that as far as jump shots around the rim. So that's his strength. He's quick enough to get into those little spots and shoot the little floaters, and his percentage has been just great here. Probably in the last, I'm going to exaggerate and say 10 games.
There's been a lot of noise around the way the Jazz are approaching fourth quarters of games. After the Orlando game, the Miami broadcast crew was indignant about it, that someone could possibly do it, and then they lost, which I find really funny right now, to be totally honest with you. It's why I mentioned it, because I just seriously find it hysterical.
I heard that conversation.
I mean, I was just like, I was accosted, and like, why don't you ask Will about it? And they're like, just like, because it's obvious what's going on here, people. And everyone's cool with it. We got it. It's a great developmental chance for the kids. So I do think this is how we're going to see most fourth quarters the rest of the way. How big and how important are these minutes for Ace Bailey and Bryce Sensabaugh? And really, if you think about where the Jazz are as a franchise, and this is some conversation we haven't had yet, but like, we're moving forward. Like they're trying to be a top 6 team in the Western Conference next year. Ace Bailey's not part, but Isaiah Collier, Bryce Sensabaugh, Kyle Filipowski, Cody Williams, they need to prove that they're capable of being a part of it too. Like their timeline just got thrust forward. This is not a franchise that as of October 14th next year is developing talent the same way it has been for the last 3 years. They have to be able to play winning basketball. This is a really important month and a half for these players to prove, coming out of the All-Star break, hey, I can play winning basketball at an NBA level, and they're going to get a lot of these minutes.
The Jazz are trying to develop players. They're trying to build a basketball team, and that's probably the most important thing for this franchise going forward. Why? Because going forward, they hope this team is going to win a championship. That's the ultimate goal. But they don't know, they will not be able to find those things out without playing guys in clutch minutes, without giving them a chance to play extended minutes in a basketball game, winning or losing, and playing in close basketball games. So there's a lot to be said about the way the last couple of ball games that Will has done in the fourth quarter.
And what do you think you saw from Orlando to Miami? And then we'll talk about Jaren Jackson.
The turnovers, first of all. I mean, and not being careless with the basketball, and Filipowski rebound and doing some good things. It was just, you can just see the difference in the way they played, but they took care of the basketball. That game they lost in Orlando, I thought they lost it in the fourth quarter because of the turnovers that they had late in the basketball game. But close minutes, close basketball games, and in final minutes, and when there's, the game can go either way, you got to get the experience with those things if they have the confidence to play there.
Today's, we'll talk about Jaren Jackson. Jazz go on another 35-20 run in the second quarter that kind of changed this ball game and showed how good the Jazz can be with their starters on the floor. We'll talk about that next as we continue on POSTCAST. Today's edition of POSTCAST is brought to you in part by Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly with Prize Picks. Shoot your shot on Prize Picks and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, Prize Picks is giving you $50 in lineups. When you sign up and play your first $5 lineup, Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, every board that much more exciting. It's America's #1 app for sports picks. Prize Picks is simple to play. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stats projections. You download it, and it's available in all 50 states, so it's easy for anyone to jump. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups. And after you play your first $5 lineup, that code's LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups. After you play your first $5 lineup, Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Today's show is also brought to you in part by our friends over at Indeed. Indeed, if you're in the hiring process right now, you want to make sure that you do it right. Go to Indeed.com/podcast, and we'll give you a special deal on that as well. Indeed's going to match you with the perfect candidate that does all the things you need. You don't want someone who's just good enough. You want someone who's going to be fabulous, and that's where Indeed steps in for you to get you exactly what you need for your company. In fact, in the minute we're going to talk about this right now, Indeed is filling job after job after job, and that's what makes Indeed so impressive for you. The Indeed sponsored jobs is the answer. And in fact, right now, by the way, I filled 27 jobs in this minute. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help you get your job on premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. That's $75 sponsored job credit to get your job on premium status it deserves. That's Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring. Do it right with Indeed. And the show is brought to you by FanDuel. Did you know that you can use FanDuel to get involved to make the Winter Olympics even more fun? Yes, in fact, you can do that with the Winter Olympics. The Winter Games are officially here, and if you're anything like us, you're locking in for events you only can get to see on the biggest stage every 4 years. That's why the Winter Games on FanDuel just make sense. From medal counts to individual events to finding your angle, the drama of curling, speed skating, hockey games, even niche events. The Winter Games are on, and there's no better way to follow than at FanDuel. FanDuel, play your game. The Utah Jazz win it 115-111. Very impressive performance by the Jazz tonight, but they were really, the second quarter jumps out again, 35-21 by the Jazz. They went 35-20 against Orlando the other night. They've outscored opponents 70-41 in their last two fourth quarters. It was a surge late. Jaren Jackson behind it. He didn't shoot great tonight, but he was absolutely fantastic in his impact of the ball game.
7 for 19.
He went 7 of 19, 22 points tonight. Ron, what did you see out of the Jazz when they had their main guys on the floor?
Well, you can see what going forward with this basketball team, and I know Jaren Jackson was very offensive minded in the game tonight. 19 shots in 24 minutes, so he was very offensive minded. And again, going forward in this, it's going to be hit and miss from game to game between Keyonte or Lauri or Jaren Jackson on who's going to lead this team in scoring. Keyonte might get 18 shots and Jaren Jackson might get 12. I mean, it's just going to depend on the team that they're playing or something like that. But you got a three-headed monster that's going to be on this team that's going to be pretty good.
It just the crazy difference. Last time we played them, Miami ended up with 11 shots at the rim in the first quarter, 4 shots at the rim in the second, 7 in the third. Now, a lot of these came off offensive rebounds, but you get to tonight's ball game, instead of having 15 shots at the rim, they only had 8 shots in the paint.
Yeah.
You just can't get in right now. Teams cannot get into the paint against the Jazz bigs.
Yeah, the defense was awfully good from that. And don't think that Spoelstra, who mentioned that in the coaches coaches meeting tonight, that those 3 7-footers, you know how big they are and how difficult it's going to be able to score there.
The Jazz final numbers, I don't have it on it, but the Jazz were able to just deny that part of the game. The other one was the offensive rebounding. Miami had 30 offensive rebounds, and tonight they only had 10. I mean, the Jazz shot opened the night shooting 8 of 28 in the first quarter. They stayed. We had a really stunning moment that the Jazz stayed in the game while shooting 30% for a while.
Yeah, Miami started the ball game off shooting threes, and they got hot from the 3-point line. Where they 7 for 15 in the first, boy, it seemed like the first 8 minutes of the game, they were just knocking down 3-point shots, and Jazz hung in there. I mean, they got to, where did they end up? 3 for 11 themselves, but 28% shooting in that first quarter was not very good.
All right, here's the most important question of the night. When you give out your Jazz Note stars tonight, does the dog get a star? Does the dog get a star tonight? That's what I want to know. The front row dog that was sitting right next to Will, where Will Hardy was.
No,
I could not tell. Is this the first time the dog's coming? She brings the dog all the time. She brings the dog all the time? The dog is a season ticket holder.
I bet he's a pampered dog. I bet he's pretty
the dog's got $1,000 seat in the front row every night.
I bet he has his own bathroom, own room at home, and everything. You know,
evidently the dog could talk because the dog was able to tell her when it needed to go.
They went.
So does the dog get a star?
No, we're not going to give a dog a star.
Who gets a star tonight?
How about the starting 5?
Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson, Yusuf Nurkic, Ace Bailey, Isaiah Collier.
And then for Filipowski's the way he played in the fourth quarter.
Kyle Filipowski.
I thought he played very good.
And for the fact that Isaiah Collier broke his ribs on a busted play on the final play of the game.
Filipowski ended up 2 of 6, but he had 6 rebounds in that fourth quarter.
Okay.
And then Sensabaugh.
Big 3. Bryce Sensabaugh.
Yeah.
That is it tonight. POSTCAST. Jazz win in Miami. Go 2-3 on the road trip. We'll be back home for 2 more before the All-Star break. Come out and join us and welcome Jaren Jackson to Salt Lake City. Tickets available at UtahJazz.com.